16-year-old Arata, feeling the pressure of his age and status, asks his 15-year-old younger brother Shin how he managed to get a girlfriend. But Shin, more interested in his phone, doesn't offer much help. When asked, he casually says he just went with the flow. This vague answer frustrates Arata, who wants to understand this elusive flow. Shin, sensing his brother's desperation, acknowledges the burden Arata carries as the eldest in the family, but wishes he'd ease up. Shin reminds Arata that he once said a girl was pretty, to which Arata quickly responds it wasn't love, just a passing comment. Shin, teasingly, tells him to stop being such a coward. As the heir to the powerful Shiunji family, Arata could have any girl he wants. But Arata doesn't believe that fate simply drops love into your lap, yet he finds it hard to believe it doesn't exist at all. Their 5 sisters interrupt the conversation. Each brings her own energy. 16-year-old Uka finds such talk unworthy of the Shiunji family image. 17-year-old Seiha claims boys talk 30% about girls and 60% about what to do with them. 15-year-old Minami jokingly adds up the numbers to 80%, revealing she can't do basic math. 18-year-old Bonri corrects her but is ignored. 14-year-old Kotono stays silent, observing. Uka, suspicious, imagines Arata pushing Shin for juicy gossip about his girlfriend Yu, but Arata denies it. Still, Shin snitches, saying Arata commented on Uka's developing figure. That earns him a vicious bite from her dog, Vel, and Uka suggests he should have been bitten somewhere more sensitive for his impure thoughts. Despite Arata's insistence that he sees his sisters purely as family, the girls continue teasing him. Minami notes he nearly ended up in the mysterious room 8 for his comment, but Bonri sympathizes. Seiha shifts the conversation to genetics, saying sibling attraction is both illogical and dangerous. Bonri argues that science can't explain everything, and teases Seiha about blushing, suggesting even the logical one has felt love. Amid the chaos, Minami tells Arata she thinks he's cool but punches him immediately after, blaming a fighting game for the reflex. Uka jokes that Minami's motor functions might be on autopilot. Seiha compares her strength to an Olympian, and Bonri praises Arata's looks. Uka, however, says Arata's personality ruins the great genes their father gave them. Uka then reminds the brothers of Kotono's birthday party on Saturday. Shin is only busy Sunday, so both are confirmed to attend. Arata tries to object, but Kotono gently confirms he's free. He agrees to reschedule his plans. The sisters are thrilled, as it's been a while since all 7 went out together. The next day, the sisters meet at the subway station. Their beauty turns heads. After all, they are the famous Shiunji sisters, each with her own fan club. Likewise, their brothers, Arata and Shin, are admired like celebrities. But Arata finds it absurd that outsiders envy their life. If they knew the truth, they wouldn't. Shin adds that people only see the surface. At home, the sisters dominate. They can hit the boys, but not the other way around. Even their father takes their side. Shin reflects on each sister. 18-year-old Bonri, a first-year college student, training to be a nurse, gentle and beloved. 17-year-old Seiha, top student and science club president, calm and admired for her brilliance. 16-year-old Uka, athletic and smart, a star in swimming and running, future student council leader. 15-year-old Minami, tennis prodigy, tomboyish and respected, popular with both boys and girls. 14-year-old Kotono, the youngest, radiates innocence and vulnerability, adored by everyone. Shin brings up Kotono's feelings for Arata. Arata is stunned but reaffirms that one confession won't change their bond, they're siblings, and that's final. He's then distracted as he catches sight of a girl he likes, Lala Yokoyama, through a window. Shin philosophizes, people envy their life, but Arata's past trauma with girls made him timid. That night, Arata scrolls through Lala's social media profile, thinking of messaging her, but hesitates. Remembering Shin's comment about his passivity, he tries to shake off his fear. Uka knocks on his door to borrow his notebook. As twins in the same grade, it's handy. Arata can't help but admire her appearance and awkwardly asks if her clothes are too revealing. Offended, she reminds him they once bathed together as kids. Then, curious about his crush, she pesters him until he admits he finds Lala Yokoyama attractive. Excited, Uka says she and Lala are on the same committee and offers to introduce them. But Arata wants to take things slow and refuses. Disappointed, Uka slams the door and says he'll never find a decent bride if he keeps acting like this. Elsewhere, Kotono stares at a photo of her and her siblings, tears welling in her eyes as she gazes at Arata. The next day after school, Arata imagines how life would be if he weren't a Shiunji. As fate would have it, he sees Lala talking to another guy, someone she arranged to meet. Fate, He thinks, decides everything, from siblings, to partners, to children. On Saturday night, Arata prepares to head downstairs for Kotono's birthday. Uka reminds him of their father's motto, dress well if you want to be someone. Tensions boil downstairs. Uka yells at Minami for losing an AirPod. Minami counters by bringing up losing their mother's brooch. The fight intensifies, with both sisters yelling that they don't want to be related anymore. Arata, fed up, raises his voice and reminds them all that they're one family, no exceptions. Uka brushes him off, but Seiha calms everyone by announcing that their father is arriving. With the family gathered and the table set, Uka raises her glass to toast Kotono. But before the celebration begins, their father interrupts, saying there's something he has always wanted to tell Kotono. The father prefaces by saying his love for all of them will never change. Then he drops the bomb. Arata is shocked and stands up, demanding an explanation. Calmly, the father explains that all of them were adopted, and he had promised their late mother, Chihiro, that he'd reveal the truth when the youngest, Kotono, turned 15. The only exception, Shin and Minami, who really are biological twins. The rest, including Arata and Uka, are not true twins. This stuns them. Though the father offers to answer questions, he insists the evening should still be a happy occasion for Kotono's birthday, asking the maid Yamaguchi to bring in the appetizers. But the mood is tense. Everyone sits in awkward silence, their minds reeling from the revelation. After the meal, Banri dismisses the maid and gathers everyone for a serious talk over tea. No one touches the food, except Minami, who remains cheerful and eats as if nothing happened. Banri praises Minami's positivity, saying she inherited it from their father, only to be reminded by Seiha that there's no genetic link. Uka leans on Arata, trying to accept the truth, but still feeling betrayed. Seiha, however, defends their father's timing, saying this was the best way to honor their late mother's wish. Despite that, Uka can't shake the feeling of being deceived. Minami, ever blunt, thinks everyone's just overthinking it. Seiha questions if Banri, the eldest, remembers anything about their adoption since she was 4 when Kotono arrived. But Banri acts strangely, avoiding the topic. When pressed, Banri insists everything's fine and reaffirms, even if we're not blood-related, you're all my siblings. Everyone finally cracks a smile, except Kotono, who quietly hides her sadness. Later that night, Arata lies in bed, overwhelmed. He recalls Banri's comforting words and realizes that what matters most is the time they've spent together. Still, images of Lala Yokoyama with another guy pop into his head. Trying to clear his mind, he heads to the shower. There, in a comedic twist, he finds Kotono already in the bathtub, and he sees more than he should. Embarrassed, Arata quickly wraps up and rushes to leave, but Kotono innocently asks him to scrub her back, like when they were younger. Though flustered, Arata does as asked, doing his best not to look at her inappropriately. He finishes early, encouraging her to learn to do it herself next time and quickly leaves the room. Meanwhile, Shin talks with Uka, who is concerned for Kotono. She believes they all need to support her, especially as the youngest. Shin shares that he's still processing everything, feeling like their lives jumped from 0 to 100. Uka reflects on how she and Arata, believing they were twins, shared a unique bond. But Shin reassures her that nothing has really changed. Arata is still the same dependable older brother. At this point, Shin also notes that only he and Minami are truly blood-related, and that going forward, people will see them differently once this truth becomes public. In fact, there's now the awkward reality that romantic relationships between them are no longer taboo. Arata is caught off guard when Kotono suddenly hugs him from behind, leaving him frozen in disbelief. Meanwhile, in the dining room, Uka struggles to comprehend the idea of a romantic relationship between Arata and his sisters. The mere thought of it feels absurd to her, but she can't shake the nagging feeling that something is off. She recalls the way Arata's gaze seemed to linger on his sisters, especially the strange incident when she saw him pin Kotono to the floor. At the time, she didn't understand what was happening, but now, the situation seems more complicated. Confused and concerned, Uka presses Shion. He finally explains that Kotono had confessed her feelings to Arata. The moment Uka witnessed, where Arata pinned Kotono to the floor, was the result of Kotono lunging forward to hug her well enough to trust it. Kotono has always been impulsive and emotionally intense, so her behavior makes sense. Still, the situation is troubling, especially now that Kotono knows they are not blood-related. There's a real possibility that she might try to pursue a romantic relationship with Arata. In the bathroom, Kotono, determined to confess again, clings to Arata tightly. There's between them. Her feelings for Arata are strong, and she's afraid of being seen as strange or wrong, but it feels tonight. They reminisce about the time they played rock paper scissors to decide their rooms, with Uka winning every round and claiming the largest room. Instead, she unexpectedly pushes Arata onto the bed and climbs on top of him. However, Seiha's expression shows no signs of flirtation, only a kind of detached curiosity. After a brief moment, she shifts away from him, explaining that she overheard Kotono and Arata's conversation in the bathroom. Arata, caught off guard, pushes her off comically, but Seiha remains calm. She coolly explains that societal norms and legal concerns are based not on public perception but on biological realities. In her view, the barrier that once existed between siblings is no longer relevant, and it would be hypocritical to pretend otherwise. She reassures Arata that she has no romantic interest in him but acknowledges that her sisters might. Before leaving, she reminds him of their sibling roles and tells him to address her with respect, perhaps even with a cute nickname. Seiha's departure leaves Arata stunned. His thoughts are in turmoil, overwhelmed by the strange dynamics unfolding within his family. He collapses onto his bed, unable to process the situation. Meanwhile, outside, Seiha pauses, looking down at her clenched palm as if reassuring herself that her feelings are natural. She stands there for a moment, deep in thought, until Minami notices her. Seiha retreats quietly to her room. The next morning, Arata hasn't slept at all, the weight of the previous. He excitedly mentions that she gave Kotono her spare uniform to try on and wonders what Arata thinks. Hoping to avoid any awkwardness, Arata deflects with a vague answer. Banri misinterprets his response, thinking he's disapproving of her uniform, which causes her expression to falter. She clings to Kotono for reassurance, and Arata tries to comfort her, reminding her that her uniform looks nice. He gently hints that they should hurry, as school is about to start. At school, Arata walks with Shion, the group of girls naturally ahead. As they pass a cluster of students, some boys whisper in admiration of the girls. Arata's gaze lingers on the group, noting how unaffected they seem despite everything that has happened. Shion, reflecting on their family's secret, wonders what might happen if it were made public. Arata quickly tells him to keep his voice down, not wanting any rumors to spread. When he bends down to pick up his shoes, the weight of Kotono's confession and Seiha's unsettling logic weighs heavily on him. Minami, unaffected by the turmoil, appears cheerful as ever, but Arata can sense that there's more to her than meets the eye. He watches her as they walk together, admiring her energy. She seems the least affected by the family drama. Their conversation remains light as Arata praises her athletic achievements. However, Minami admits she's on academic probation due to a failed exam. Arata, seeing her disappointment, offers to tutor her, and they head to a karaoke place. Despite the tutoring session, Minami quickly loses focus and starts singing karaoke instead. Arata watches, bemused, as she performs a song about a girl who prefers tennis to studying. The song feels. On their walk home, Minami teases Arata about Lala but reassures him that he should let go, as Lala is already with someone else. Once they reach home, Minami gives Uka a box of mini cakes and the AirPods she borrowed. To Minami's surprise, Uka shrugs and tells her to keep the AirPods, offering the cakes as a quiet gesture of peace. It's an unspoken truce after the emotional turbulence of the past few days, signaling a new sense of understanding among the siblings.
Arata starts his morning brushing his teeth and unexpectedly runs into Kotono. Their interaction is a bit awkward but polite, hinting at some recent tensions between them. Arata wonders if he managed to convince her everything's fine. Seiha, as cheeky as ever, sneaks upon Arata, prompting a brief Homeric exchange. Seiha reminds Arata to call her Seiha-chan, leading to a playful yet insightful conversation about Arata's complicated dynamic with Kotono. Minami then suddenly appears with a dramatic Shoryuken and reminisces about last night's gaming session where she thoroughly beat Arata. Their bickering catches Seiha's attention, who questions the use of senpai between siblings, leading to more teasing from Minami. At school, Arata overhears Uka discussing love and teasing him about never confessing to Lala, who already has a boyfriend. Her friends gossip about Arata's looks and whether he's single, while Uka calls him a pervy, muscle-brained gorilla despite accidentally praising his neatness and protective nature. Arata reflects on her popularity and dreads the upcoming group outing to With Me Seapar, hoping nothing goes wrong. At the park, the group is excited, especially about the mascot. While everyone's distracted, Bandri drags Arata off to get food. When they return, the others are gone. With no one answering their phones, Bandri suggests treating it like a date, much to Arata's shock. Bandri keeps teasing him acting overly affectionate and flirtatious. She even jokes about letting him touch her chest back home, frustrating Arata. Despite her antics, he remembers how reliable she is and how she's always had his back as the eldest sibling. Meanwhile, the rest of the group is having fun, unaware of Banri and Arata's ditto. They prioritize Kotono's birthday and decide to enjoy the park to the fullest. Even though they got separated, everyone seems to be thinking the same thing. Banri's probably messing with Arata again. Later, Banri and Arata share food and talk about their father's shocking announcement. Banri reassures Arata, reflecting on her responsibility as they invest. She promises to always protect the bond they share. Arata is touched, remembering how she's always been his dependable big sister. Their heartfelt conversation is interrupted when a little girl trips and spills her drinks. Arata steps in and gets soaked, but he brushes it off, more concerned about the child than himself. Banri, flustered, tries to dry him off, worried and grateful. Arata tells Banri, I will protect it with you. I want to, because I am your little bro. Touched, Banri thinks to herself that Arata has grown up. Later, while walking to another ride, Banri asks to hold his hand, saying, let me have this. I'm your big sister. Uka points out the beautiful likes, comparing them to a movie set. Minami calls Uka a princess and Seiha jokingly says, the place looks like Yomotsu Hirasaka, the slope between life and death. Arata excuses himself to use the bathroom, and Shion and Kotono join him. With the three gone, Seiha brings up a concern. She saw Kotono cling to Arata in the bath. Arata confirmed it, and Seiha claims she tested Arata's reaction scientifically by mounting him and checking his heartbeat. The others are stunned, but she insists it was for testing purposes only. They conclude Kotono's actions were impulsive and not romantic. Banri and the others agree not to tell Kotono they know, to avoid panicking her. They realize Kotono has acted this way before, example in the game room incident, and that learning they aren't blood related has likely confused her further. Banri shares that after talking to their dad, she learned she was an orphan with unknown parents. She's still processing the news, just like everyone else. They agree to monitor the situation and trust Arata won't give in to anything inappropriate. Kotono seems happy and composed during her birthday celebration. Arata reflects on their dad's revelation they aren't real siblings and feels grateful that their bond hasn't changed. He promises internally to keep things the same. Later, at the mud shop, Arata is spooked, thinking he saw Lala, his crush. Uka finds him and brings up their past closeness, saying they were twins until 3 days ago and have things to discuss. Arata insists they are still twins. Uka tells him to face reality, recalling their twins' telepathy and past closeness. Suddenly, Uka says, I love you, leaving Arata completely shocked. He silently processes how first Kotono, then Seiha, then Banri, and now Uka all have expressed romantic feelings towards him.
Despite Uka confessing her love to Arata, he misunderstood her feelings, thinking she meant it in a familial or brotherly way, though that wasn't the case. Uka regretted confessing under such circumstances. Meanwhile, during Arata's daily training, Minami appeared and praised his dedication. Their conversation revealed why Minami had been acting strangely during the park trip. She had overheard Uka's confession and was struggling to confront Arata about it. She eventually asked if something was going on between him and Uka, but Arata, misinterpreting her concern, brushed it off, thinking she referred to their usual arguments. Frustrated, Minami left without saying what was really on her mind. Later, in a classic rom-com moment, Arata accidentally ran into Seiha on the way to the bath. Then Banri visited Arata's room, not for romance, but to invite him on a date to help him get a new phone. During their outing, Banri playfully teased him with flirty comments. Arata quickly chose a phone based on practicality, prompting Banri to compare phone preferences to choosing a partner, suggesting Arata values personality over looks. Saleswoman, assuming they were a couple, offered them a special promotion, giving Banri another chance to tease him. While enjoying ice cream together, Banri brought up their past sibling fights and asked how Arata was dealing with the recent revelations. Arata admitted he was getting used to things, and Banri reassured him of her support. She even posted a picture of him in their sister's group chat, which made Kotono a bit jealous. Suddenly, Banri received a message that changed her mood and cut their date short. On her way out, she spoke to Minami over the phone, saying it didn't seem like anything happened between Arata and Uka. Still, Minami couldn't stop thinking about the confession. She tried to message Banri saying Uka would never confess like that, but accidentally sent it to the sisters group. Although she deleted it quickly, Kotono had already read the message.